Did you catch that? BlackRock is speaking live on Bloomberg about Bitcoin. Robert Mitchnick, the head of digital assets at BlackRock, is talking together with ETF expert Eric Balchunas about institutional adoption. They're discussing how investment advisors are now being unleashed on Bitcoin and that this could be a massive price catalyst. And Fred Kruger also says that nearly $8 trillion in investments are ready for one of the biggest Bitcoin rallies we may ever see. And whenever BlackRock says something about Bitcoin, you should pay close attention. Robert Mitchnick from BlackRock dropped a bombshell here in just a few minutes. And before we take a closer look at all of this, make sure to leave a like below if you believe that Bitcoin is about to take off. And before we talk about BlackRock, the Bitwise CEO explained that as of March 31st of this year, 79 publicly listed companies collectively held $57 billion in Bitcoin on their balance sheets, which represents an increase of almost 160% compared to the previous year. He attributes this trend to several reasons. A key factor is the growing concern about the dollar, as companies worldwide are sitting on record amounts of cash. In the past, they would have kept this capital in short-term US Treasury bonds or in bank accounts, but due to massive money printing and growing deficits, this no longer seems like a valid strategy. Companies are therefore looking for alternatives to protect their assets from devaluation and see Bitcoin as the best option. Furthermore, the investing public has recognized that this is a positive strategy. Companies that have taken the bold step of adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets are being rewarded for it, and the CEO of Bitwise sees this as a megatrend that will accelerate in the future. He assumes that ultimately thousands of companies will integrate Bitcoin into their balance sheets. In his view, we are still in the early stages of this trend, but it will become significantly stronger over time. He describes this development as very exciting. And the CEO of Bitwise also says that companies that add Bitcoin to their balance sheets are being rewarded.
That as of March 31st of this year, 79 public companies hold a collective $57 billion in Bitcoin on their balance sheets. That's a nearly 160% increase over the past year. What do you attribute that bump to? And generally speaking, why do you think public companies are betting big on Bitcoin?
Yeah, I think there are a few reasons for that. We think this is a mega trend, by the way, that's going to accelerate into the future. One, of course, is increased worries about the dollar. Corporations globally are sitting on record amounts of cash, and what they've historically done is park it in short-term US Treasuries or in fact in cash accounts. But with the huge money printing and growing deficits, that no longer seems like a valid approach. They need another way to protect their wealth from degradation, and they're turning to the best horse in that race, which is Bitcoin. Beyond that, the investing audience has just recognized that this is a positive strategy. And so companies are being rewarded for taking this bold step of putting Bitcoin on their balance sheet. We think there will ultimately be thousands of companies that do this. We think we're in inning 1 or 2 of this mega trend period, but you're seeing it accelerate over time. It's very exciting.
What's also interesting, some analysts believe that the money currently held in money market funds could soon flow into Bitcoin. And what exactly are money market funds? Just think of them as huge pots of money where investors park their capital when they don't want to invest it elsewhere. It's basically a safe place for cash that's just waiting to be invested somewhere. And a huge amount of this money, about $8 trillion could, according to analysts, soon flow into Bitcoin as soon as the sentiment around Bitcoin shifts. And by sentiment shifts, we mean when the price of Bitcoin rises sharply or when people gain more confidence in Bitcoin because more companies are investing in it and so on. This then leads them to invest in Bitcoin. Then suddenly thousands of people will want to buy Bitcoin. So what does BlackRock have to do with all this? Robert Mitchnick from BlackRock has said that Bitcoin is still at a very early stage. That means there is still a lot of potential left. He also explains why their Bitcoin ETF, the IBIT, is growing so quick much faster than other ETFs, such as the gold ETF. This is because a wide variety of people want to invest in Bitcoin. They see Bitcoin as something new, something they want to have in their portfolio. In short, there is a lot of money waiting on the sidelines and Bitcoin could become the target as soon as the sentiment shifts. And if that happens, it could be like a spark in gunpowder rally that blows away everything we've seen so far. It's as if everything is set up and just waiting for someone to fire the starting gun. And Robert Mitchnick from BlackRock also commented on the adoption of Bitcoin by wealth advisors and institutions. He emphasizes that this process is still in its early stages, but that steady progress has been made recently.
Now, more recently, we've seen just steady progress of more wealth advisor adoption, more institutional adoption. It's been a mix of people for whom it's the first time they've invested in anything in the crypto space. And then on the other hand, you have lots of people who've been invested in Bitcoin for a long time, and they're taking advantage of the ETP wrapper.
When it comes to adoption by wealth advisors, I'm curious how far along you think we are in that process. Are we in the early innings? Are we in the middle innings? Are we, I don't think we're in the 8th or 9th inning, but, where would you place it?
Very early. I think what we've seen is a concerted effort by most of the largest firms to move forward with their due diligence, their research, and their approval processes. But as you all know, for new ETFs, it's typically a multi-year journey to get any sort of approval. We've seen that fast-tracked by a number of firms. When we talk about fast-tracking, we're talking about quarters, not months. And slowly but surely, I think you've seen an acceleration, especially in the last couple of months, with more notable firms lowering barriers, granting approvals to their advisors to use these. And I think that's, obviously set to continue.
He says it himself. The wealth advisors are getting involved financial advisors, in other words, who help wealthy clients invest their money. More and more of them are saying that Bitcoin belongs in a portfolio, and that's a huge lever we're about to see because they have influence over billions. But what's important here is that you store your crypto in Bitcoin yourself. Click the link in the description below the video for more information. Mitchnick from BlackRock believes that we are only at the beginning of this wave. If all the major institutions and maybe even countries like the USA or China eventually get involved, the price of Bitcoin could skyrocket. And Robert Mitchnick from BlackRock also spoke about the company's recommendation to invest 1 to 2% of a portfolio in Bitcoin.
What has happened since that recommendation? Is that recommendation being followed? What types of investors are looking at it? How do we go from that recommendation to investors actually allocating 1 to 2%?
Yeah, so just I think to basically set the stage for what model portfolios are and how they work for some in the audience. Basically, the idea is to support financial advisors in their journey to be able to build better portfolios, more optimized portfolios for their end clients. And USO model portfolios have become a very powerful tool to help financial advisors do that. At BlackRock, we have a very significant asset base in the model portfolios that we build and then provide to our wealth advisor clients. And one of those portfolios, as you mentioned, in February this year, so just about 3 months ago, now added Bitcoin as an allocation in the 1 to 2% range. This was a model portfolio that includes alternatives in it. And so that was, as you mentioned, I think a significant development. That was not a sudden reaction to any one thing. That was the result of multiple years of analysis and research by the team that manages those portfolios. So
it's absolutely crazy what's happening right now and all of it together. And on top of that, Michael Saylor, who has expressed himself extremely optimistically about the future of Bitcoin, he says that the risky phase of Bitcoin is over and that Bitcoin will no longer fall to zero. Instead, he believes that the price could rise to as much as $1 million and that soon.
And at what point do we see, winter coming again? Because that's been a permanent fixture of this asset class, right? It's gone from 0 or 1,000 to 20, and then back down to 3 or 4, and then up to 50, and then back down to 15, and now up to 110. Like, when does it drop again?
Winter is not coming back. We're past that. We're past that phase. If Bitcoin is not going to zero, it's going to $1 million. And you have all the evidence you need to determine that, right? The President of the United States has determined he supports Bitcoin. The cabinet supports Bitcoin. Scott Pessin supports Bitcoin. Paul Atkins has shown himself to be an enthusiastic believer in Bitcoin and digital assets. Kentes at the CFTC feels the same way. The banks are going to custody Bitcoin. Bitcoin has gotten through its riskiest period. The accounting has been corrected. There are now only 450 Bitcoin a day available for sale by natural sellers. That's the miners. At this level, that works out to about $50 million of Bitcoin available for sale every day. If that $50 million is bought, then the price has to go up to find any natural, any seller who's price sensitive. Now, if you do the math, you'll actually see that the Bitcoin treasury companies alone are buying up the entire natural supply.
Yeah.
BlackRock and the ETFs are buying another portion of that. And now we have nation state actors entering the space. So I think when Bitcoin rallies, if it surges to 500,000 or $1 million, then maybe we could talk about it crashing down by $200,000 a coin. But at the current price levels, it only takes $50 million to turn the entire drive shaft of the crypto economy one turn. And you've got the Trump media organization announcing $2.5 billion. You've got GameStop announcing 500 million. You've got my company that's raising billions and billions of dollars. So the writing is on the wall. Bitcoin is moving higher.
You have to know there are only 450 Bitcoin per day that are mined and sold by Bitcoin miners, which amounts to about $50 million. If this amount is bought, the price must rise because there are not enough buyers. According to Michael Saylor, large companies like BlackRock and ETFs are buying Bitcoin, and even nation states are getting involved. Michael Saylor thinks that Bitcoin will climb to $500,000 or even $1 million per Bitcoin and then might drop back to $200,000. But even now, $50 million is enough to move the market. Michael Saylor also mentions that companies like Trump Media and GameStop are investing billions, which shows that Bitcoin is on the rise. Basically, it's just crazy what's happening right now. BlackRock is dropping a bombshell on Bloomberg. The institutional adoption of Bitcoin is picking up speed, and Robert Mitchnick from BlackRock makes it clear that we're only at the beginning. Investment advisors are rushing into Bitcoin, wealth advisors are recommending it to their wealthy clients, and even companies are hoarding it on their balance sheets. $57 billion just this year, an increase of 160%. And the Bitwise CEO sees a megatrend coming our way. Companies are protecting their assets from the faltering dollar, and Bitcoin is the answer. On top of that, $8 trillion are sitting in money market funds, just waiting to break out as soon as the sentiment shifts. And this could become the biggest rally ever, says Fred Kruger. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF, IBIT, is growing rapidly, and Michael Saylor is already dreaming of $1 million per Bitcoin. So the signs are pointing to a storm, and if you want to achieve financial independence through Bitcoin and crypto and benefit from this trend, click the link in the description below the video. Watch the video. Things are about to really take off.